Merab is the same way, where it just seems like his cardio is insane. Like that alone, that is a skill right there. That he is like, he put all of his stat points of the character creation into cardio and overdid it. Like I don't know how he is able to maintain this pace. How he's done this his entire career. Like All right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans, where we talk about all things in combat sports. I'm One Fight Fan, Colin.
And I'm the other Stuart.
All right, we had the first pay-per-view event of 2025, UFC 311 at fucking Intuit Dome in LA. Before we get started, I have a special, what do we call these segments for you, Stu?
Ooh, yay!
Yeah. Originally, I only had one part of this, but in the spirit of being more positive, more trying to start off on the right foot, it will probably devolve down the line. But after each major card, I want you, we'll talk about in more detail and everything later on, but I want you to give me just two hot takes really quickly. One, the thing that you are most happy about coming out of this card, the thing that you liked the most, and two, what was Stu's donkey brain moment of the night for you? And it could be anything leading up to the card, within the card, whatever you want. So tell me, first, let's start off positive.
Hold on, clarification. For the donkey brain moment, is that my own donkey brains or donkey brains that I appreciated per the UFC / the fans?
I will let you interpret that however you wish. It might change. It might throughout the year. It might be something that you felt you did that was like, ooh, I should let people know what I said, what I did. Whoops, my bad. Or it could be like, fuck you, this guy. Like, you suck.
Got it.
But first, okay, we're starting off positive. Tell me, what was favorite thing that happened out of this first pay-per-view card?
Great. It's got to be that co-main event. Not only because I think Umar Nurmagomedov plays himself in my mind amongst the 5 other fighters in the UFC I view as extremely highly skilled, but without a title. Umar Nurmagomedov placed himself amongst the likes of Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya, and Robert Whittaker for me.
Wow, that's high praise right there.
Yes, as someone I look at and I go, holy shit, that's amazing technique. That's amazing skill. Look at how good of a fighter this person is. And I went, wow, I'm so impressed. But then also to see Merab Dvalishvili go, guess what? I've got that infinite stamina cheat, and I'm going to spam it endlessly in this fight. And I went, whoa, I've never seen, let alone a fighter, a human with cardio like that. This guy's got the cardio of a fucking Kenyan marathon runner, and yet he can apply it endlessly to wrestling and striking. And even though his striking is not cardio efficient, his wrestling is not cardio efficient, he's able to act in a way that is not stamina efficient and yet still gas out someone who is in phenomenal shape, stamina efficient, and has great technique, and still beat them. That was kind of a mind fuck to watch, and I thought it was an absolute pleasure overall.
Yeah. Okay.
That was
That
was I love that shit. I didn't, but no, we're not going to get negative. We'll get to Joe Rogan being enamored of the fact that they had a fog machine in the arena and how he fucking nearly jizzed his pants. And I was like, hey man, it's a fucking fog machine. It's a smoke machine. You're okay. And he's like, dude, it's like being in a dome of the future. And I'm like, no, it's like a dome of right now. Like, you're totally fine. Everything's okay. But that whole main event fight was like truly spectacular to watch, I thought.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad. I like that. That's a very, to put Umar up with those people that you hold in that high esteem, Volk, Max Holloway, Izzy, Whittaker, like that's singing very high praise with someone. So I like that. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
Now let's get to where I know I know people are waiting to hear this. The one person who
Yeah.
listens to our podcast, what
Yeah.
was your donkey brains moment of this pay-per-view card for you?
Look, it could be so easy to say Jamal Hill crossing his feet, bringing his feet together, just fighting like an absolute donk. That's true. It could be the fact that, you know, confirmed by the payouts, Renato Moicano got paid more than Islam Makhachev for this fight. So it could
Yeah.
be Makhachev not demanding more money. But I think the biggest donk of all, the one with the largest rib cage, the baldest head, the palest complexion, has to be Joe Rogan for routinely saying, whoa, this dome is like a dome from the future, despite the fact that he's sitting in it right now, and it's not as impressive as a dome he sat in less than 6 months ago in the Sphere in Las Vegas. The fact
Mhm,
that
mhm.
all it really was the same exact smoke effect that they did every fucking fight, and then a little tiny video package that looked like it was out of Mortal Kombat 2, like way back in the early 2000s. The fact that Joe Rogan, like a fucking child seeing a pinwheel for the first time, was enamored by every glittering effect that happened in this dome, and the fact that his commentary was absolutely inane throughout the entirety of the card. He definitely gets my January donk of the month award, for
Okay,
being
okay.
possibly, and I'll say this, on the spectrum of famous people to their intelligence, he might be the dumbest motherfucker with the highest level of profile I've ever seen on Earth, probably, like in the history of mankind. Right? It's pretty hard to like. Now is the time if you're going to be an idiot to be really famous. And Joe Rogan, he might be the guy. He might be the guy. Anyway, so that's my donk of the month and donk of the human race. It's got to be Joe Rogan. Like that's where I'm at. Like it's an absolute mouth breathing troglodyte. Joe Rogan is. Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Anyway,
no, that's fair. That's
yeah,
fair.
yeah. So how do you want to go about this? Talking about this 311 card because it was pretty good. It wasn't the fights we wanted.
No, it
Um,
really like so. Yeah, I mean, if this is an indicator of how 2025 is going to be, we might be in trouble because, like,
Listen up, bitch.
literally.
It's January 20th right now as we record this. We just had 78 of Biden's executive orders immediately rescinded. We immediately had Trump pardon every one of the Jan 6 protesters.
Yeah.
Uh, it's buckle up, chuckle fucks. It's about to get real weird for the next, like, I don't know, at least 4 years, possibly 10.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
it was let's start. Well, first of all, with our new format, first of all, a bunch of our picks just were rendered like fucking not anything because
yes. Yes.
we'll get
And so,
to each of them, but
well, and to clarify, I want to clarify really quick. Colin got
yeah.
6 points and I got 4 points. And the question might be, how could it be possible that I'm only 2 behind Colin? And as we go through this, we will talk about it
Yeah.
overall. But there seemed to be some confusion amongst both Colin and the one fan who listens to this. When we call for a finish, we're calling for which fight is most likely to end in a finish, not who will get the finish and
Right,
what
right.
method. And so when someone calls, I think this one will get a finish and this one won't, there are still points at play overall. If you call the person, the round, and the type of finish all at once, that's 3 points. But if you say, hey, well, at least there will be a finish, that's still a point. But
Yeah.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
But let's just start at the top.
Great.
Yeah. Islam versus what was supposed to be Arman, but then
Yeah.
somehow Arman injures his back while weight cutting and pulls out of the fight the day
Well, hold on.
before.
Before we get to that, Colin, what do you think actually happened? Give me your conspiracy theory here.
Dude, I have no idea. I'd like if I have to take it at face value of like
Mhm.
yeah, you legitimately hurt yourself while weight cutting, which I don't know, like what were you doing that would cause you to hurt your back cutting weight? Like what
Yeah.
sort of movement were you doing like at speed or whatever that would just cause you to tweak your back out that badly unless you had a
Mhm.
pre-existing injury in your back and you just fucked it up way more by doing something when you were already dehydrated or not like in a position to be moving at that pace, you know?
Mhm.
Or is there something else at play that we don't know? I don't know. All I know
Well,
is, like,
I would say, what what
tell
if
me.
their just weight cut wasn't going well? We saw fucking
Ah,
we saw Armin
that's
Tsarukyan ripped
right.
up from the butt up. You know what I'm saying? Like just an absolute chiseled god in there, looking humongous. What if he just was having a bad weight cut and he went, "Oops, I threw up my back. I sneezed too hard. I threw up my back. Oops, I was dehydrated. I bent over wrong. I tweaked my back."
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's a botched weight cut overall.
Oh, okay. I
That's
didn't
what I'm
even
thinking.
consider that as a possibility, but that does because Armand has failed weight before, hasn't he?
Ooh, I don't know about that. I mean, he's dummy thick. Like he's a fucking he's a big dude. Let's look. Because
Yeah.
and here's the thing, like he looked significantly heavier and beefier than Islam did, and Islam looked like absolute dog shit on the scales.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah, he
let's
missed
see.
he
I'm
missed he missed weight against Matt Frivola
the
back in
steamroller
2021.
Frivola. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So he has missed weight at least once in the UFC, but yeah, I mean that would be my suspicion is rather than it being a back injury, it's a weight cut issue, and then you just claim a back or neck injury, right? Because those are so hard to detect. It's not a I have a broken arm, I have a broken joint, I have a dislocated ankle, blah blah blah, where it's pretty easy with an eye test to see. If you just say like I got a bad back, I got a bad neck, nobody can really fault you for being like, well, you got to pull out then. And it's
Mhm.
very hard to see. So that would be my suspicion is that it was a bad weight cut, claim an injury. Everything's.
I also
Anyway,
forgot Armand Sarukian was the guy who punched a fan while walking out to the octagon at UFC 300 to fight Charles Oliveira and was going to be like banned from fighting unless he did like a anti-bullying PSA, which I don't think he actually did. And
did not. Yeah.
yeah, oh my
And,
god,
and his quote, I believe, was, and a fan say, fuck you. You don't fuck you when you fuck me. I'm from Russia. You don't say fuck you to fuck me. And you get punched. And I'm like, you know what? Eloquent. Eloquent, Armin. You nailed it. Um, yeah. I think it was probably just a bad weight cut issue. I don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I also don't fault him too much for that because this still is, I think, Islam versus Armin, the most interesting fight you can make at 155
yeah.
overall.
But now
But let's talk
also,
about.
well, hold on,
Okay,
I want to
hold
talk.
on.
Last
Before
thing
we do
about
this,
Armand. Last thing about Armand.
okay.
Dana White said he's not getting an immediate title shot now. Now I know
I
anything
know
Dana
it's
White says can just go back and forth from whatever the fuck. But
yeah.
let's say he doesn't get the title shot. Like you said, it's the most intriguing, stylistic, everything matchup for Islam right now.
Hmm.
So would Islam stay at lightweight to potentially have a future matchup with Arman? Or I mean, he's even said himself he wants to be double champ. He doesn't want to just stick around in one weight class. He wants to move up
Hmm.
to be a double champion. So, like, Arman pulling out means they probably wouldn't fight until mid to late end of this year. Then that would delay Islam's plans to try to move up again. So, will he
Hmm.
do it? Will these two ever actually fight?
It would be a real shame if they didn't, because I
Yes.
think if Islam fought Arman and won, I think I would feel very comfortable as a fan, and I think in the totality of Islam's career, it would make us go, well, Islam maybe didn't clear out the division, but he cleared out the best contenders that were there in the division. And so the it is frustrating because when Armand pulled out and his back was hurt, let's say it wasn't a weight cut issue, it was just his back was injured. Does that mean his back would be injured in 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now? Could this be rescheduled for UFC 313, 314?
Mm.
Like I am excited always to see Islam compete, but I think one of the issues with because Islam now has overtaken the most amount of title defenses in lightweight history, and he's one behind Anderson Silva for overall win streak in the UFC. But it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily feel that momentous, and I think it's because what his last two title defenses, it was a 2-day short notice against Volkanovski and less than a day short notice against Renato Moicano. He hasn't
Yeah.
had the requisite competition to really make us go, oh shit, he's cleared out this division. He's truly proven he's the best. Unlike
Yeah.
GSP, unlike Anderson Silva, unlike John Jones, where you go, I can't fathom anyone else in this division. And I
Right.
feel like if he had beaten Arman, that that probably would have done it overall. And so I kind of the opinion of if we just delayed this a month or two, wouldn't that be better than having Islam fight and then say, "Hey, I'm going to take till October before I fight again"?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If they can make the Islam and Armand fight happen relatively soon, it won't impede on Islam's potential plans to move up in weight, assuming he makes it through Armand, which I think he will. But
Mhm,
if we have this whole because Islam doesn't fight at the same clip as some other fighters, which he doesn't really need to, but it does. It's exactly like you're right. You're right. Like it's hard for me to say Islam is like the greatest lightweight champion, or whatever,
mhm,
when there are many challenges that or like top contenders that he hasn't faced off recently with or haven't beaten yet. Haven't cleared out the division as you said that as like
yeah,
other champions have. So it's hard to put him, and I feel like his resume should have him up in that discussion, with people like a John Jones, a GSP, an Anderson Silva, and dare I
mhm.
say, a DDP question mark? Like but
But yeah,
like yeah, it is. Like, 'cause if he doesn't take that Armand fight, his critics will be like, "Yeah, well, he never fought Armand. Well, he never did this, so, like, we don't ever know." And it's like, that will just it'll put a unwarranted blemish on his record and career, which is kind of really, like, a ridiculous thing to think about when he is one of the top pound for pound fighters and someone who we are
mhm,
legitimately thinking of as being a double champion.
yeah. Well, it's not even like it's that if he doesn't fight Armin, it like damage because like Islam might like quite literally be one of the top like 5 best if you're just looking at skill, best skilled fighters that's ever been in the UFC, right? Like
Mhm.
he might legitimately be there. The question is we just need to like have that kind of we need that litmus test for that skill against really high level competition. And it's unfortunate Renato Moicano, Alexander Volkanovski on like 1 day notice or 2 day notice isn't that competition.
Yeah.
And he ran through Charles Oliveira. He definitively beat who was the number 2 pound for pound fighter in Alexander Volkanovski the first time they fought, but still down a weight class. Like we need to see someone who's a true lightweight, who's big for lightweight, like Islam, really test him. Because if he dispatched of Arman, you go, great, he finally has that test that we can say, without a doubt, not hypothetical, he is really that guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of like both Khabib and Islam have really struggled that. Khabib never got the Tony Ferguson fight. Khabib won the title off of Al Iaquinta, right? Like he fought Conor McGregor coming off of launching his whiskey brand and supposedly not really training at all, right? You get a lot of this stuff with Khabib. Khabib, we can see on film, is it an extremely impressive fighter, one of the best we've seen. But when the litmus test that they go against to see how good they truly are and to get the best performances out of them is subpar competition, it doesn't help their case overall. Um,
Right.
and so it's kind of, and especially because Islam is 34 years old, like we need to get this competition in there as quickly as possible for him. So for that fact, I'm like, it's cool. I'm happy to see him compete. I want to see the best fighter, I think probably on the UFC roster, compete as regularly as possible. But he fights 2 times a year, and I'm glad he took the short notice fight because I do want to see him compete 2 times rather than 1 time a year. But I don't want to see it against Renato Moicano. You know, I
Yeah.
want it against Arman Saryukin. I want it against like a top 5 real legitimate test for him. Not because I think that they'll win or that I think he has something to prove, but just because the joy of watching a really high level fighter fight is seeing how they solve those issues
Right.
when it comes up from a top 5 fighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's. I think they still, before he moves up, I want to see him fight Arman because I do legitimately think that will really show us exactly how great Islam is, and
Mhm.
I want to see that. I want to see that. We both picked him to beat Arman. I think we probably would both. We texted about it a little bit, but like both clearly thought Hanato would get destroyed. Um,
Yep.
I want to see him against Arman because we both were like, ooh, maybe Arman could take 2 rounds off of him. And I want to see what that looks like. I want to see how Islam responds to that because that's, if he is really the greatest fighter we might have ever seen, I want to see him show that to us.
Yeah.
Because you could be the greatest fighter ever and just beat a bunch of nobodies, and it never really shows you the full potential, right? If
Hmm.
Michael Jordan just only played against high school football teams or high school basketball teams, sorry, not football, like you'd go, wow, he's really impressive, but what does he look like against other greats of his era in the NBA? Right? That's what I want to see from Islam because I don't feel like we've truly been given the chance to see that at lightweight for him.
Right.
Yeah. So, how did you feel about the finish? How did you feel about the fight overall?
So this is the one I told you. Like as I was watching, my stream cut out literally as they went to the ground, and then the next thing I saw was Renato Moicano being interviewed afterwards. So I was like, "Wait, what the fuck happened? Did he win? Did he put?" But I saw his body language, like, okay, he definitely didn't win. So like, I didn't even. I had to read up on like ESPN's like play by play to find out that he won by Darce, and I texted you about it.
Oh
And it's
yeah,
like, yeah, it was pretty. As soon as they went to the ground, it was almost like it was so obviously one-sided. Like it looked like Islam was
yeah,
just going through the motions and like really didn't need to do anything. Like
yeah,
like it was so easy for him.
yeah. And it's I think like we kind of have seen the max of Renato Moicano's career kind of in that, right? Like he was able to make Islam a little bit more nervous because he had a much bigger reach advantage and he's good at using his reach on the feet. But yeah, I mean that's the danger with Islam is when you can match him on the ground, he can piece you up on the feet, or when you can beat him on the feet, he can take you to the ground and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
He's so well rounded that yeah, he might. I am not ready to declare, but he might be the most skilled fighter we've seen in the UFC. He's at least in the top 3 in my mind.
I was just gonna
He's
say, like,
phenomenal.
do you put him in the same stratosphere in terms of skill wise with like GSP?
Yeah, I definitely put him in a top 4, top 5 position.
All
Uh,
right, all right.
he's in the GSP realm. He's in the Jose Aldo realm. He's in the Demetrius Johnson realm. Like he's up there. Um,
Mhm.
but again, it's grading that. It's really hard because GSP I guess this is kind of the delineation in my mind is every time GSP fought, I thought, okay, here is a like really tricky question for him. We have Jake Shields, the greatest jiu-jitsu person in the welterweight division. We have Josh Koscheck, the most powerful wrestling question in the welterweight division. We have Thiago Santos, the most devastating striker at welterweight. How is GSP going to answer the questions that these fighters pose? Right. And they did it in every facet of the game, and he was able to answer them.
I think you meant Thiago
Islam has
Alves, but yeah,
who did I say?
Thiago Santos. But that's
Oh
like
no, yeah,
nowadays.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. Thiago Silva. Yeah, my bad.
No,
Not Thiago
Alves.
Silva.
Alves.
Alves. Who's Thiago Silva? Another light heavyweight. Fuck. There's too many Thiagos. There's too many fucking. You know what I'm talking about. He's jacked. His nickname is the Pitbull. He has
Yeah,
flying knee Matthews. We get it.
yeah. But
Right.
the average person
Just,
doesn't. They don't know that. They don't know who Thiago Alves is, man.
I know. Well, they're donkey brain fools. Anyway, but GSP answered every one of those questions, and like Islam just basically hasn't been given the opportunity to answer those questions for us. He did it a little bit with Dustin Poirier. Like, how do you answer probably the heaviest knockout puncher in this division? And we're about to get it with Arman. How do you get the next best wrestler in this division against Islam? And we would have seen that, but instead we got libertarian first, fighter second, Renato Moicano. And he dispatched of him exactly the way we wanted to. One round, took him down, choked him out. Great, beautiful. Yep. But it feels a little bit like the Anderson Silva before Chael Sonnen, where it's like he doesn't have any opponent to really push him to show how great he can be. And I want that for Islam. So that we can really see. And I think Arman's that guy. And if he's not that guy and Islam blows through him, despite the fact that I feel like Arman can beat basically anyone else in the division, you go, holy shit. Well, that's super impressive. It's much more impressive than Renato Moicano.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do we do with Islam from here? What's the next step?
I mean, it really does come. Okay, so I think there's 3 routes we can go with this. One, he just does what he wants to do. He goes and moves up to welterweight. You know, if he wants to challenge for that, it's really going to depend on whether or not he's okay fighting the winner of whoever Bilal ends up fighting next, whether that's Shavkat or someone else, you know. But I know Islam won't fight Bilal. And apparently also there is some fringe or light connection between Islam and Shavkat. So maybe.
I mean, they're kind of in the same part of the world, but he'd fight Shavkat.
Okay. But, you know, I think there's like some interview they did one time where they alluded to like, oh, we're buddies or whatever. So like, I don't know. It just casted some doubt in my mind, but like, whatever, you know, so he could do that, you know, or he might wait that out a little bit just to see how the division actually unfolds right now. I think, and your suggestion of like an immediate, like, not rematch, but matchup between Arman and Islam, like maybe for International Fight Week, like in May or June or something, that would be good, you know? The only other option is just like he fights another lightweight contender, which would be, I think, Charles Oliveira, you know? And that would be more of a Charles Oliveira has a lot to prove. He's got to prove that he can actually, you know, hang with these individuals. And this would be Charles's like really last run, you know? So like what can he do to solve the Islam problem? Because he's already shown that he can't deal or has a real tough time dealing with top heavy wrestling based fighters. He got squashed by Islam the first time, lost to Arman in their fight. So like he would have more to prove.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 5 options, and I'll give you the lead up to each 5 for Islam.
Okay.
Number 1 is the winner of Bilal Shavkat, whoever it is.
Sure.
Which he said.
But if it's Bilal, he won't do it.
Yeah, but let's say he might. So let's say Shavkat. We'll just say Shavkat.
Yeah.
For the welterweight title. Assuming Shavkat wins, he fights him next.
Sure. Okay.
Number 2 is Islam said in the post-fight press conference that he wants to try 185 as well against the winner of DDP and Sean
Yeah, I saw that.
Strickland. So we've
That
got the
would be
winner of
wild. That's
yeah.
wild.
I mean, here's the thing. Against Sean Strickland, that's not a bad call. DDP, you got issues, but Sean Strickland, maybe, right?
Yeah. I don't know
Uh,
what Sean Strickland could do against Islam.
yeah. No, number 3, Ilya Taporia called him out.
Yeah.
So we could have Ilya moving up.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we've got two other options. Dana White says Arman Sarukian, as much as I hate it, won't be the next title shot at lightweight,
Right.
which
Right.
means it's probably Max or it's Charles Oliveira. So one of those two. Or Ali Abdelaziz said it's not Ilya, it's not Shavkat, it's not Arman, and it's not Ilya, which means there's really only one other person that would be a money fight, and that's Conor McGregor.
Ugh.
Rank for me of those 5, from lowest to highest, your interest in the fights.
Well, Conor McGregor is like 8th out of those 5.
Okay.
Okay, so get that shit out of there. The Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira. Now that's interesting. I do like that. It's kind of the same story for both of them, though. Like it's both their kind of, for either Max or Charles Oliveira. It'd be like their last big push for a big title shot, and a title reign potentially. And they both dynamic strikers who have trouble against strong wrestlers. I mean, Charles is more ready to go to the ground, and Max is pretty good at defending the takedowns, but he's like just against a bigger, stronger person, he has had some trouble with that. So it would be interesting to see and talk about both of them. I would be interested in basically, if Ilya moved up, that would be very interesting. That does throw a whole new wrench into the whole lightweight picture as well, because basically that means, okay, if Ilya moves up to fight Islam, and that would be a very interesting matchup to see, actually, because I think Islam has size and wrestling over him, but it's a matter of will he shoot immediately on Ilya? And what will Ilya do on the ground? Because again, we've talked at length of how Ilya is supposedly a jiu-jitsu. That's what he started with, jiu-jitsu and grappling.
Yeah.
But we haven't really seen that. So, will Islam put himself at risk of something that's unknown, even though he's very, very confident and strong in those areas? I don't know. It would be interesting. That one I'm definitely interested in. I am interested in him also moving up to Shavkat. To face, because that's what I think, but I don't think that fight's gonna happen, or at least this year, because Shavkat's still gonna be out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Shavkat's gonna fight until mid, maybe June at the earliest. He's got that knee injury.
That's true, but
so say he wins. Say he wins in June. The earliest that he would fight again, assuming he's not injured or anything like that, would be like a couple months, 3 months after that. So we're talking now like September, October. So, we're still waiting a long time.
Islam will fight next is October.
Yeah. Okay. So that's assuming a speedy, recovery, whatever, for Shavkat. And I don't know if he's getting surgery or whatnot, or if he's actually, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So the idea of him just saying, I'm going to be double champion, but 2 divisions higher than me is hilarious. Like that, that's a big dick move right there. Like,
yeah, I do like that. I mean, I'd prefer him to fight Arman overall, but
yes, yeah.
If he went up and fought DDP, that's pretty fucking cool. I like that. That's pretty cool.
I don't know if he'll be able to do that, but I just love the energy. I love that.
Yeah. How disappointed will you be if it's Conor versus Islam next?
I'll be like, this just confirms we are in the darkest timeline.
I mean, we know we are already, Colin. Like, we don't need to have it extra confirmed. We've had it confirmed 9 ways from Sunday. Like, it's
Yeah.
been, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
and
I
that
don't
then dead silence on the air as we both contemplate what our future looks like in this
yeah.
world. Yeah,
If that's
yeah.
what's announced next for Islam, like Islam deserves more. Unless he's getting paid
No.
like a fat bag. Like
Well, we gotta talk about the payouts that came out of this fucking uh,
mhm.
thing. Did you see this? Let's go through them just real quick.
Just real
Islam
quick. Okay, okay.
Makhachev might be the number one pound for pound fighter in the UFC. Only got
Yeah.
paid $200,000 with no win bonus
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this fight. How does it make you feel, Colin?
Pretty shitty.
Yeah, pretty shitty, right? Because
Yeah.
here's my thing, Colin. I've had a salary of this height at some point. Let me tell you, Islam Makhachev sacrificed a lot more, provided a lot more income for his base company, and is a much more impressive person than I am. And your boy over here making bad bets on Jamal Hill has made more in a year than Islam Makhachev made with this fucking fight. This is wild. This is wild. Um, I don't even know how to digest it because boxers who aren't even big pay-per-view stars or even top pound for pound are making 5x or more the magnitude of what Islam Makhachev is making. Um, it's really upsetting. And to top it all off, Renato Moicano made more than him. And Yuri Prochazka and Jamal Hill also made more money than him.
So
It's fucked up, dude. It's
so I want
fucked up.
just to point out one thing here, just for comparisons. Now admitted, these sports are not the same. They're not. You can make arguments that well, this, and that. Like I'll look it up but like the number one draft pick rookie for the NBA is being paid $12.6 million in an
Mm-hmm.
82 game season because he plays for the Hawks. He's not playing the fucking playoffs. He's not making that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No.
That averages to $153,000 per game.
Yeah.
So he's making, as a rookie who's probably not playing that much, like, can you even tell me the name of the number one draft pick in the NBA?
Nah, man.
I didn't know who the fuck this is. And like, but they are going to be paid as much per game. That means in 1 week, this kid will be paid more than the number one pound for pound current world champion in one of the most competitive divisions of the UFC.
Well, here's the thing. In the MLB, a dying sport of Major League Baseball, and we're talking baseball, baby, you're not getting hit in the head. You're barely doing jack shit. You're swinging a club a couple of times. No, I mean, I love baseball, but the minimum league salary is 740,000. Islam will probably not clear that in his 2 fights this year if he has 2 fights. And he might be pound for pound one of the greatest mixed martial artists we've ever seen. And the UFC is not paying him as much as an absolute jabroni on the San Diego Padres, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Like, okay, the number one draft pick for football, his total contract was 39.5 million, but his is for like 4 years or whatever. But he had a signing bonus of 25.5 million. And this motherfucker went out there and got absolutely destroyed for 17 games.
Yeah, Islam Makhachev would have to fight with this salary for 10 years to make just the signing bonus, right? Not
Yeah.
even bonus. It's shameful. Absolutely shameful on the part of the
Yeah, it's
UFC
brutal.
to be paying these people this much. It's really sad because Islam's one of the greatest we've seen, and he's getting 200K. Now I know that that's not pay-per-view disclosed, right? He gets pay-per-view bonuses on top of that, but the fact that your base salary is so low, or base pay for a fight is that low. I mean, we're seeing guaranteed purses in boxing of not big stars, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. You know,
Mhm.
um, like the fact that Islam can't even command that is absolutely crazy. Overall, right?
Well, look,
It's
Gelson Almeida made more, and yes, his base was half of it, but he got a 110K win bonus, so he made more than Islam.
Yeah. Well, dude, Sergey Spivak, who went out there and looked like he was a white belt in grappling and has been competing in professional sports for all of 5 minutes, got 50% of what Islam Makhachev got, right? If
Yeah,
I could go out there and be like, this is like going out there and being like, I'm a CEO and I have 1 year of experience in anything, right? I'm a 23-year-old CEO. I know absolutely nothing and getting the same salary as like what Steve Jobs commanded towards the end of his life. It's like crazy that's a crazy way of thinking of this model
yeah.
for pay in a sport. It's nonsense. Uh, anyway, so if Islam fights Connor and it gets him a big fat paycheck, I'm almost okay with it just because I need Islam as one of the most impressive MMA fighters I've ever seen to make some cash because 200K is brutal, man.
Yeah.
That's very sad. To truly be like, imagine actually being the best, like whatever your job is. Imagine being truly the best at that job, even if it's only for a year or two, and being like, what
Mhm.
I got during that time was $200,000 before taxes.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to be the best at a thing on earth. That's nonsense. Um, anyway, well, that's the Islam Arman so you can fight. Renato Moicano, he got paid $250,000. He got paid 50K extra or 50K more than Islam did, which good for him. Negotiated, stepped in on a short notice, right on. Islam should have probably negotiated for, hey, I'm taking an opponent on short notice, but he did not.
Mhm.
I hope Islam fights Arman soon or an opponent worthy to test his skills so that we can see where he's at. But let's talk about the actual best fight of the night and the one that is the most interesting overall. Let's talk about Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Colin, what is
Yeah.
the okay? First off, how impressed were you by both fighters? And second, who were you more impressed by in this fight?
Okay. So when this fight started, I was thinking like, man, this is going, Umar's kind of doing what we thought, and I think we texted at the end of the third round
Mm-hmm.
what we had it. And I had it 2-1, but both of us were like, but the momentum is swinging and it's swinging pretty quickly right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of our text just back and forth for the last 2 rounds after that third round was like, this is cheating. Like, like
Yes.
Marab is so like his cardio, his endurance is like when we talk about Alex Pereira having the death touch when he punches, like it's
Mm-hmm.
unfair. Like just what he can do, like with some of his power and stuff, how it looks like he's not even fucking trying with some of the like strikes that he does and just the devastating effect that it
Mm-hmm.
has. Marab is the same way, where it just seems like his cardio is insane. Like
Yeah.
that alone, that is a skill right there. That he is like he put all of his stat points of the character creation into cardio and like
Yes.
overdid it. Like I don't know how he is able to maintain this pace. How he's done this his entire career. Like I mentioned this before when we talked about him at UFC 3, and like when the wheels fall off this skill, like it'll
Mm-hmm.
fall off pretty hard because in order to
Yes.
maintain that level of cardiovascular strength and just endurance, like what are you doing? And yeah, I but at the same time
I,
when he just showed against Umar, like I don't see it slowing down like anytime soon. There's no like indicator that he slowed down a little bit. If anything, it seemed like he like picked up the pace a little bit against when compared with Sean O'Malley. Like I don't know. It was just I was very impressed by Marab. I was very impressed by Umar. I thought he came with a good game plan, but man, like I don't know how you deal with that unrelenting pressure unless you have that death touch knockout power where you can just clip Merab before he can get his engine running like that.
Yeah, it is. The only other like cheat skill I can think of that's remotely close is Francis Ngannou. Right, he can throw punches, total arm punches, no technique, not transferring his weight properly, and still knock people out.
Yeah.
Marab can, for 5 rounds, throw the most energy, non-efficient techniques. Like, when he punches, those are not energy-efficient punches. When he's going for takedowns, those are not energy-efficient takedowns, and yet he is able to tire out Umar. Watching Umar fight, I was like, "Dude, this guy's skill and technique, he's throwing punches exactly the way you want him to. When he goes for takedowns, they are the most energy-efficient way of getting someone down quickly. When he stuffs takedowns, he stuffed what 22 of Marab's takedowns. And
Mhm.
when you think about that, you assume, hey, if somebody's going to shoot a takedown, if it takes 2 energy points or 3, well, let's just say 2, it only takes 1 of my energy points to stuff that takedown. So even if they're at like, their cardio is at a score of 90 and mine's at 80, if they keep shooting and I keep defending, eventually their like overall energy reserves will drop below my own.
Yeah.
Marab is able to go, I will tire you out from defending my takedowns. I'll let you sprawl on me hard, and like it actually costs less for me to do a full throated takedown attempt than it is for you to do a energy efficient takedown like defense.
Yeah.
It's almost like rather than being statted to 100 on cardio, he's statted to like 200. And everyone else is statted to like, well, I'm at 99. And it's like, it doesn't matter. He has a whole nother like 100 points to play with that you don't get to. Um, because I thought, dude, Umar at the start of the 5th round was throwing out jabs, he was throwing out kicks, he was being super energy efficient. He was showing, for someone gassed, breathing out of his mouth, exhausted. I've never seen a fighter fight as well, totally gassed as Umar Nurmagomedov did. The
Mhm.
4th and 5th round, I've never like, dude, you and I both know what it means to feel really gassed and try to
Yep.
spar. Your technique goes to absolute shit, and Umar's did not. He maintained it so well, but it just was this thing of like, Marab went, I'm going to keep throwing terrible technique that like should be sapping my gas tank, and it just turns out it doesn't affect my gas tank at all. And you saw at the very end of the fight, Marab is screaming into the mic, and then they go to interview Umar, and he's like, I think my fucking hand was broken. Like he's still gassed even at
Yeah.
the end of the fight. Like it was the most it's the most insane cheat I've ever seen in MMA. Like, I don't even know how to fathom it. It's bananas.
Yeah.
Um,
And to bring
yeah.
up, just to go back to that point you were saying, like, because I've had fights before where someone was very grappling heavy, and it's like, okay, like you take away their grappling. Not only like do they not have anything, but even if you just sprawl, even if you just like just so that you're not taken down, they just carry your weight. That sucks so much energy out of someone.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like in boxing. If you're able to slip and weave around strikes, it tires someone out when they hit just air,
Mhm.
like putting their full shots and just hitting air. It just tires you out more. And you can't appreciate that unless you're actually in the ring with someone and you see it happening
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
feel that, like you feel the momentum just totally switch where they were putting pressure, whether it's with strikes and you're evading them and they gas themselves out by punching air, or they are wrestling heavy and you're just able to, neutralize that, have them carry your weight for a round or two, and then suddenly like they look like they were just thrown in the water for hours and they're just like barely making it back onto shore right now. Like that's what it looks
Mhm.
like, and then you can just kind of do whatever you want. Morov doesn't have
Yeah.
that. So like
Yeah.
that kind of psychological also like thinking like this is supposed to work and then it doesn't, or this is the effect that it's supposed to have on this person and it doesn't. That almost is
Yeah.
like a double effect on you then, and it's like I don't really know who's going to beat Marab on this. unless just literally time literally erodes
Yeah.
his ability to maintain this kind of pace, and then someone
Yeah.
can clip him.
Yeah.
So I don't
And
know. I think that's what we're going to be waiting to hear.
yeah, it eventually will happen because it is this thing of, like you said, like like if your game plan, which is what it seemed to be that Nurmagomedov camp had, which was we're gonna stuff every one of these fuckers takedowns, and we're not gonna get hit by most of his strikes. We're gonna dodge them or we're gonna block them with our forearms. And for the first 2 rounds, they were like, we defended every bit of offense that he threw at us, right? And so eventually you'd go, he'll slow down, even if it's just a tiny bit. And the thing is, Umar is, or not Umar, Merab is able to throw so much offense at you and allow you to block every bit of that offense, defend against every takedown, block every one of his punches, make him whiff on every one of his attempts. But he can do it at such a high pace. And then for the back 3 rounds, go, great. Now you're tired from defending, which never happens in a fight for basically any fight that's ever happened. And
Mhm.
then he can pick up the pace. Like, if your game plan is we're going to stop every takedown, we're not going to allow him to punch us. That almost becomes, even if you have the skill to pull that off, that's not a feasible game plan because you'll get tired doing that before he even gets tired wasting all that offense, which is
Mhm.
something that I don't think is a calculation for any other fight on earth, right? Like
Mhm.
watching Umar, I was like, this Umar in this fight, I was like, I'd pick him to beat anyone else in the bantamweight division, bar none. Like this is the best, most skilled bantamweight I've ever seen. And then I was like, oh shit, Merab's skill level isn't even in the top 25 bantamweights that I've seen fight, but he holds the spot for the top 6 best cardio. His right lung is number 1, his left lung is number 2, his right ventricle is number 3. Like every element of his cardiovascular system actually just jettisons people out of the top 5. Like
Mhm.
it's the most absurd thing I've ever seen because I was watching Umar and going, God damn, look at that jab. Look at that takedown offense. He's shucking Merab by. Merab's deep on a single leg and he's able to push him off. This is phenomenal. He's landing kicks. And I'm like, for the first 2 rounds, holy shit, Umar is going to do this. Like, this looks like what we said about Umar. And then it just turned out that it became more tiring to make the guy whiff on punches and fail his takedowns than it did just using head movement and defending the takedown. And Umar did not look out of shape. Like he
Mhm.
looked in very good shape. But Merab, it's like it's so like we talk about athleticism being unfair. Like that's a level of cardio you can't build to, right? Like looking at that, I've seen people work really hard for cardio. I've tried to work really hard for cardio. That
Yeah.
has to be just a genetic gift. Like nobody has a motor like that.
Yeah.
In less than half the fights of George St. Pierre, he more than doubled his takedown attempts and he surpassed George St. Pierre's takedown total in
Yeah.
less than half the fights. So he did 4x the number of takedowns on average and he landed 2x the number of takedowns.
Yeah.
That's a crazy work rate. That's like the heart of a horse in a human body. Like it just doesn't make sense that it exists. Um,
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a guy also who, after his UFC biggest win of his career, when Daniel Cormier went to go interview, he had to wait at his house because he was out doing cardio the day after.
yeah,
Like shit is ridiculous of what this guy can do. So like, as
yeah, and
ridiculous of a person he is, and as memey as he is, like you gotta respect this ability. Yes, it's partly genetic,
absolutely,
but like you gotta respect it. Like, and it's got to be feared. You have to fear
yes,
this kind of skill, this kind of fight, the same way you're gonna fear Alex Pereira's punching power, or Francis Ngannou's punching power, or take any other
I
skill. You got to put it up there with them.
I'd fear it more. There's nothing scarier than getting gassed in the middle of a fight. I mean, you and I can
Mm,
both attest to that. Like getting real tired and going, "Uh-oh, the other guy's got better cardio than me, and I'm fucked." Like, that's really fun. And the thing is, you'd go, "I kicked the shit out of Merab for 2 rounds or 3 rounds. Oh my god, I'm more tired kicking the shit out of him than he is getting the shit kicked out of him." Like,
Yeah.
Rob is just there. Like it does it I can't even I'm thinking about it and it's like Michael Myers in the Halloween movies, right? He just no matter how fast you run, he's just coming towards you endlessly. There's no way to escape him. And that's what Marab is like. He's like a slasher movie villain coming after you. He never stops. He never tires. He will always be there. It's and humans aren't supposed to be like that. That's why it's a slasher movie. There are these supernatural entities, but Rob is a real man who keeps coming after you and doesn't give a shit how many times. What it was, Umar stuffed over 22 takedown attempts, and Rob only got 7. But like,
Hmm.
it didn't matter. Rob still just kept going for it, even into the 5th round. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I thought overall, like you said, that it is the thing to be feared. It is, and I don't even know how you go up against that really. Because I thought Umar fought as close to a perfect fight as you could, and I thought in this fight, Umar could beat Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen, Piotr Jan, anyone else in the top 5. I was like, he's clearly the best, but there just happens to be this untirable golem that exists in this division, and that's Merab Dvalishvili, man. Like it's insane.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's but also like you mentioned, and we've both mentioned, like, dude, once Merab's cardio starts to slightly fade, his punching technique is not good. His takedown attempts or his takedowns are not super skilled. It's he doesn't have defense. He doesn't have footwork. He doesn't have a unique chin, right? So the second that like this cardio starts to fade and it becomes less of a weapon, like once the wheels fall off, the wheels are gonna fall off fucking hard on Merab.
Yeah. Yeah.
The question is, when does that happen? Is it? It wasn't this fight. Is it next fight? Is it the fight after? Because he's almost 35, right? Like
Yeah.
at at some point, this cardio it might only become just as good as Umar's, right? Right. But
Yeah.
then if it's just as good as Umar's, the skill differential was immediately apparent in the first 2 rounds. Like Umar will piece this guy up. It just
Hmm.
relies on him having like 10x the cardio of every other human in this division.
Yeah.
It's bananas, dude. I don't even like. I was so impressed. I was watching this and I was like, "This is the craziest shit I've ever seen." I'm watching Umar be one of the best technical fighters I've ever seen get drowned by a much less technical fighter who seems to not actually adhere to like the laws of physics and how humans breathe and like pump blood through their body. It was the wildest shit ever. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it was. Ugh. So what do we do with both of them?
Well, it's like you said, Umar, I think, can just get right back into title contention if he strings like 2 more wins against top people, which I put him like fighting, or beating most of the people in this division, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, so I mean, really you could put him against anyone, like any rising contender, any other big names within the bantamweight division who want to try to crack, that top 3 to 5 position.
Mm-hmm.
I still have him beating. Now, what's next for Marab? That's the bigger question. I feel like will who will actually be slated up next to fight him? Will it be Sean O'Malley? Will it be Piryan? I don't know. What do you think?
Why not just do an immediate rematch?
With Umar?
Yeah, it's clear Umar is. If Marab does not exist, Umar lords over this division with an iron fist.
Mhm.
It's just because Marab is there that isn't the case, right? This is a kind of Robert Whitaker, Israel Adesanya, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski type situation. Why not just let them? Umar had a broken forearm. He broke his hand in the first round. Marab had a vicious staph infection in his shin leading up to this fight. Why not give them both a chance to recover? Why not just run it back? This fight is the highest level I can imagine at 135. Why not just do that?
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense to me. Why not? And yeah, I would like that. See what two people can act who are actually healthy, like what they can change up now. So
Yeah.
and yeah, and it is one of those things though. Like, man, Umar is the stiffest competition for Merab at bantamweight.
Mhm. Yeah.
But at the same time, do we want to see Merab defend against other people because he is on a time clock? Like literally, his skill is predicated on his ability to once that cracks a little bit, once that starts to diminish a little bit, that is going to be it. It's not something that you can just like patch up or supplement with other things. So
Yeah, exactly. It's hard because the only two other contenders we really have from Rob to fight are Sean O'Malley, which would be
yep,
an immediate rematch for Sean, or it would be Piotr Jan, which fucking Merab hung 49 takedowns on Piotr Jan last time they fought, and like
Jesus,
drowned Piotr Jan. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is he just drowned. Like, I mean, this is the crazy thing is thinking back about it. Like Piotr Jan gave up after round three. Like he looked terrible after round three. Henry Cejudo looked terrible after round two when competing against Merab Dvalishvili. Like these guys look so bad because they get drowned in cardio. And I was like, Umar definitely lost and his cardio gave out, but he still like was doing good technique in round five. And that's so impressive for anyone that's ever trained to be like fully exhausted trying to throw punches correctly is so
yeah,
fucking hard. And Umar did that shit. And it's like, let's give him a minute to. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it was Merab versus Sean O'Malley again, right? Just to get Merab paid. And like you said, being able to bomb on Merab in the first two rounds might be the best bet any human being on earth has against Merab. And
yeah,
if anyone in the division can do it, it's got to be Sean O'Malley, right? Like,
mhm.
so maybe that, but and then maybe do Umar versus Piotr Jan. But really, I kind of feel like the top two fights in this division, I'm like, I want immediate rematches. I want Arman Tsarukyan against Islam, and I want Umar and Merab round two. Like, let's go for it. That seems like the best option that I can think of.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, those were the two good fights on this card, and we liked them. But Colin, we gotta talk about the stupid shit.
Yeah.
Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill. You let me know. What are your thoughts after this fight?
Okay. Two things. One, I actually like Yuri. Like I can't not like Yuri.
I
He's a
get it.
good guy.
Yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm.
Like he as cringy or weird and whatever he is, trying to be a samurai from where the fuck I don't know, but like yeah, I do like him. He's good to his fans. He seems like a decent person overall. Like there's a lot of reports like of him like meeting up with Jamal Hill and like buying him drinks at the bar that night when they were hanging out. So like, he seems like a like genuinely like decent person, which is again, it should be a low bar to hit. But in the world of MMA and professional fighting, all the characters, all the egos you get in it, like it's actually a rarity. So I'm glad that he's actually not a total tool bag.
Right.
This fight was
Stupid as
uh,
shit.
it was so like I think I don't want to call it a slobber knocker, but it was definitely just like,
Oh, come on. It's the definition of a slobber knocker.
all right, fine. It was definitely just like, what the fuck am I watching right now? And
Yeah.
all it made clear for me was like, if Alex Pereira steamrolls Ankalaev, which I think he's going to do because Ankalaev has major donkey brains,
Yeah.
like the rest of this division, no one is going to touch Alex Pereira. This is like, these are the number 2, number 3 in the light heavyweight division, and they both look terrible.
Yeah.
Like if Yuri was not as durable as he is, he wouldn't have made it as far as he has now. You know?
Sure. But could we say the same thing about Merab if Merab didn't have the heart of not a lion but an actual horse?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's fair. Yeah, that is 100% fair. That is his power, is that he is just he's just like made of iron, and you can't put him away unless your name is Alex Pereira, and you can put him away with like one shot. But you know, there was one moment where I saw Yuri like spin around and throw like a flying double knee, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's it! Stu called it. Stu called. That's what he's gonna do. He's gonna knock him out that way." And then he whiffed entirely. I was like, oh, "Okay, I guess not." But there's a split second in my heart that I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna do the. He did the move, and he's gonna win that way." And yeah, but no.
I've got 4 questions for you coming out of this fight.
Oh shit!
1,
all right.
Much has been made about the improvement of Yuri Prochazka's defense and head movement. Did you see a massive improvement in his head movement and defense?
Okay. Two responses to that. One, if your defense is against someone who doesn't have that much skill like we did, then yeah, you will have better defense, you know? So like it made it look better. 2, his increased head movement means he literally did that. He moved his head more out of like fucking not being just straight up and down. So but it was definitely like in a weird random move. And when you're matched up against someone who doesn't have skill to track that, then it looks good. But a lot of his head movement was just like, I'm just like, it looked like when you first learn head movement and you're just trying to figure out how to like move in time. It wasn't actually like slipping side to side or pulling out, you know, it was not like that. You know, when I think of head movement with skill, you think of like Jose Aldo, you think of, you know, Floyd Mayweather, you think of Roy Jones, things like that, you know, where they see the punch and they move the appropriate angle and distance away. Not like I'm moving my head randomly, and because the other person isn't skilled enough to hit it, the punch goes flying by me. Because the problem with that is when you get someone who can punch with skill and timing, like Alex Pereira, when that head is moving in one direction, he's going to throw a punch that just cracks into it. It's going to be like, congratulations, you countered yourself. And it's going to end in a much faster and more painful knockout for that person.
Yeah. Right? Like, there is something to be said about preemptively moving your head where you think someone's going to punch you. I didn't necessarily see Yuri.
No, I did not see that.
Doing that,
No.
Number 2.
Oh, shit, that was one of 4 questions.
Yeah, that was one of 4. Number 2. We've seen Yuri really struggle with leg kicks. Jamal Hill threw 2 leg kicks in total in this fight.
Yep.
Do you think that if Jamal Hill had realized throwing leg kicks against Yuri Prochazka was like a good idea, that would have changed the complexion of this fight?
Nope.
No. Oh, interesting. Nope. Okay.
Because we already saw that Rakic was like chopping down Yuri's leg, and he just walked
Hill
through.
Without leg kicks, made it to round 3. You know?
Yeah.
Like Rakic only had 1 round of that, and then he was like, "Oh shit, I'm tired."
Yeah.
Like,
but Jamal Hill
might have been able.
Jamal Hill. That's also assuming Jamal Hill doesn't have donkey brain.
That's true. That's true.
Even if he had a whole round of success, let's say he just threw and landed 15 leg kicks, like an astronomical number, and was scoring, and he was like he could hit on will with them. Who's to say he wouldn't just go, I have forgotten about that technique?
Well, I mean, we saw him forget about that technique after 2 kicks. Yeah, it's over now.
Yeah. So, like, yeah.
Wild overall. Number 3. after seeing this fight, how well do you favor Khalil Roundtree against each of these guys?
Oh, heavily favored.
Over both.
Over both, yeah. I think he will. I think Khalil Roundtree will. I think he would take a decision win over Yuri.
Okay. And kill Jamal Hill?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to cut out. I said I think he.
Yeah, cut out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think he would knock out Jamal Hill.
Okay. All right. So we're still picking Khalil over both of these guys.
Oh yeah.
Got it. So announced for UFC 313 is Ankalaev versus Poatan, which means that most likely both of them will need at least one fight to get into a title picture. Where do you match them up each after this fight?
Who? Yuri and Khalil?
Yuri and Jamal.
Yuri and Jamal. Oh, okay. I would say, okay. Jamal has now lost 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
1 against Alex Pereira and 2 against Yuri, and both by knockout.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Yuri and Khalil fought, that would be an interesting next contender. But at the same time, it's going to be really hard to sell a third matchup with Alex Pereira when he has absolutely stomped Yuri. I think it would be a little bit easier to sell if Khalil Roundtree beat Yuri, because you can make the argument that Khalil won the first 2 rounds against Pereira, and clipped him and kind of stumbled Alex Pereira, dropped him a little bit. So it was the most competitive of Alex Pereira's light heavyweight career, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone else in that division, yeah, I guess. I mean, you got Jan Blachowicz kind of floating around again.
Yeah,
I guess
him
against Yuri could be good.
Yeah, or even Jamal would be good.
Yeah.
What about this? I'm going to throw a wild card at you. Because I think Jamal could have a nice one with Khalil or a nice one with Jan. What about Yuri versus Israel Adesanya at 205?
Ooh.
What do you think about that? Because here's the thing. I know Izzy will piece him up. But Yuri is unkillable. And can Izzy put him away before, Yuri comes back. Sort of like a DDP 2.0 and get at Izzy.
Okay, Izzy versus Yuri. So the last time Izzy tried to move up to light heavyweight, he was not big enough. And Yuri is a big 205er. So I don't know if I think it would be very similar to how Jan Blachowicz just put him away. And not that he's gonna knock him out, but it's it's just one of those things where it's Izzy is such a defensive timing countering type fighter where he doesn't have the one punch devastating knockout power. It's more that he will time you off of a mistake you made, and therefore will string together a few combinations or will pop you when you're not expecting it. And that's what hurts you.
Telling me Yuri's not going to make a bunch of mistakes and leave his chin way out there?
No, I think he will, but the problem is Yuri also just continues to press forward, which we've seen Izzy that should provide him a lot of opportunities, but people who are strong and bigger and are able to push forward that way with a strong guard per se, like DDP, Jan Blachowicz, they are able to kind of shield wall against that piercing strikes that he has, and just kind of weight bully him then, whether it's with a takedown or just pressing up against the cage and kind of rendering Izzy's sharpness, his speed, and his timing and control of range kind of moot then. So I think that's what it'd be like. I don't think Izzy would be put in any physical danger, he'd be stumbled or rocked or anything like that, or knocked out or submitted, because that's not what Yuri does. But I think it would look fairly lopsided. I if it was a 3-round fight, I think it'd be 2-1.
Okay. Who would you favor against Yuri?
Aside from
Israel
Khalil Roundtree?
Adesanya or
Okay.
Robert Whitaker?
Ooh.
Because both have talked about moving up to 205.
Huh.
And Yuri's just got so many holes, yet he is a large, unkillable samurai. So
Yeah? I don't know. Is Robert Whitaker's teeth and jaw and face fixed yet?
well, he did get like all of his teeth in his face removed, so you're not gonna knock any of his teeth out anymore. They're all fake now.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think stylistically, I think Robert would actually have a bit of a better shot.
I think you're right. I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think Rob could actually do pretty good at 205, the current 205 division, despite
Yeah.
being a small dude.
Yeah.
I think he could do it. I think he would have a better shot too against Yuri versus Jamal. But we gotta say, Colin, give us the TLDR on why Jamal's footwork is bad. Just tell the audience, please. Just take a second.
What are you talking about? Why? What footwork did you see? Like, what are you talking about?
You can't cross your feet. You can't bring your feet completely together. When you throw a punch, he would throw punches. It was funny. He'd be standing, let's say, like his feet almost completely together, like heel to heel. When he would throw a punch, he would step backwards with his right leg and his right arm as he would throw it. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's not how you're generating force backwards as you're trying to punch forwards. That's taking sting off your punch. It was the wildest. It was anti footwork. It was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was very much like we talked about
but
before.
we might have one person who doesn't know jack shit. We need to explain it to them why it doesn't make any sense.
All right, if you look at Jamal Hill when he walks around, like in the cage, it looks like he's like wearing flippers. You know when you try to walk around with flippers on?
Yeah.
That's what it fucking looks like, man. Like,
yeah.
imagine putting on flippers and trying to hit a heavy bag. That's what I imagine is him. Like that.
That's the kind of bro science training Yuri would be into. I'm gonna drag him into deep waters. That's why I wear flippers and snorkel when I hit the bag. Right? Like that's yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. He does look like he's wearing flippers when he walks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's baffling.
It is.
It's truly the worst footwork I've ever seen for somebody ranked within the top 10. Well, hold on.
Come on.
He's at least in the top 5 for worst footwork I've ever seen in the top 10.
What about Sergey Pavlovich?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. Like, Sergey Pavlovich doesn't cross his legs, right? Sergey Pavlovich just doesn't know how to, like, move around the cage. But, like, he's not crossing his feet when he throws a punch. He's not like, I'm going to throw a punch and I'm going to cross my legs and then bend it like a long, like, lunge, right? Like, Jamal Hill's lower body seems as if it's piloted by a small Jamal Hill in his pelvis, and then the upper body is piloted by a different Jamal Hill in the upper body, right? Like, they're two entirely different things. It's baffling, which works out for Dricus du Plessis, because Dricus du Plessis, I think every element of his body is piloted by a different part of his brain. You know, it's like 7 dudes trying to figure out how to operate a mech warrior. Pretty bad. Anyway, all right. That's Yuri. That's Jamal. It was a fun fight. Yuri, not really making much improvement. Don't listen to the hype. Jamal, truly dreadful. Let's talk about like 2 or 3 other fights. Your boy, Jelton Almeida won. You have anything to say about that?
No, that one also I didn't get to actually see. My stream kept cutting out, so I just had really bad internet connection where I was watching, so.
Got it, yeah. I mean, Jelton is a better grappler than Sergey Spivak, because Sergey Spivak is not a good grappler. He's okay for heavyweight. It doesn't tell me any new information about Jelton Almeida. Who cares? They're not going to beat Tom Aspinall. They're not going to beat John Jones. They're not going to probably beat Curtis Blades. Fuck it. Yeah, fuck heavyweight. Peyton Talbot got really soundly beaten. What is your take on this loss?
Well, okay. So there's a lot of things from these preliminary fights that I think just summarily we could say. Some people that we were really hyping up and hoping would do well got definitely derailed. Payne Talbot's one of them. Renato Nakamura's the other. So a little disappointing. And you did bring up, like, yes, it's only his 10th professional fight. He's a young guy.
Yeah.
This is actually pretty good. It's not bad. So I guess I just got too caught up in the hype train. This like rising talent in the bantamweight division. Like a very competitive division. Can we see like a new superstar being born? It's still possible. He's very young. He's what, 25, 26?
I think he's 24.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
No, he's 26. He's 26.
Oh, 26. Okay.
Yeah, so he's young. He's young. He's got a lot of fight. And I think it just pointed out, like, hey, if you want to be competitive in the best MMA, division, whatever, you've got to shore up the holes in your abilities. You've got to bring a more diverse skill set, especially at the lighter weight divisions. You've got to be able to do everything, not heavyweight, where if you know a little bit of jiu-jitsu, you're better than 90% of the people you fight. This is bantamweight, where anything and everything fights will go everywhere. You'll have one fight, which is all stand-up, and it's just stand-up, trade-up wars. Then you'll fight a bantamweight who they are like 5-time, world wrestling, like amateur wrestling champion, Olympic caliber, wrestling. Then you've got a jiu-jitsu wizard who's won ADCC, like whatever. You've got just a really, really diverse skill set. If you want to break into the top echelon, you've got to be able to have abilities in all of them. So,
well, I think that's the thing too. Is like this Peyton Talbot thing is. Honey Barcelos was a national champion in Brazil in wrestling.
yeah,
Right? I don't know. People called it like a fraud check. I don't call Peyton Talbot a fraud. He was extremely calm. He did not get finished. He was making all the right moves. He just was slightly outmatched skill-wise.
It was an experience thing. It was definitely an experience thing.
Yeah, well, like Honey Barcelos just was a better grappler, and it was showed. And it wasn't like he panicked or made mistakes or did something. Though I will say, he did come out and do the classic thing that everyone does when they're just learning how to kickbox or fight in MMA, which is, I'm going to come out and the first strike I'm going to throw is a leg kick. I'm just going to come out, I'm going to throw a roundhouse kick with the leg. Without a setup, without a jab, without a feint. And it's like, hey man, you can't. We all know that's the number one move you can't do. You can't start your fight and go, great, I'm going to put myself in the very first exchange when we're in range on one leg. Right? Like, you need to just throw a jab out there before you throw the leg kick. You got to do something before that. But Peyton Talbot definitely just threw that leg kick and went, it's not great, buddy. You got to immediately take him down. But he was scrambling well. He was staying calm. He was, like, fighting grips. He was doing everything correctly. It just seemed like this was an experience thing. And, like, I think everyone's mind got poisoned when they saw Khabib and they saw Conor and they saw John Jones and they went, this is what a blue chip prospect looks like. It looks like someone who will be undefeated on the way to the title instantly. And it's like, that's for the very few generational talents. The majority of really good fighters, it takes a couple of moments of adversity to really, like, actually figure out how good they are, right? Not everyone will be. I went to the Super Bowl my rookie season as a quarterback. That's not how it goes for every great quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. Sometimes you have a losing season. And I think that's kind of what it was like for Peyton Talbot. Yeah, I'm still high on him, but no more just throwing a leg kick as your first strike and then having nothing in front of it. I was like, oh, buddy, I knew that. When I was 18, I knew that. I got yelled at to do that. Like, not do that. Like, we know not to do that. You gotta throw some punches in front of that shit.
I will say, I have regularly done that to kind of test what level of person am I fighting right now.
Yeah.
Like,
but then you're on one leg, and if they're good, they're gonna clock you right in the noggin.
Yeah, But sometimes they don't. I'm like, all right.
That's true, but you're not supposed to do that, right? Because even if somebody doesn't know you're about to throw it, if they just go like, what's the first thing I'm going to throw? I'll throw a jab, and you guys throw it at the same time because you're finally in range. and you're on one leg, that jab is going to just knock you to the ground, even if it's not like a hard-hitting jab. Like, you're just going to get
That's
pushed
fair.
over because you're on one fucking leg. Like, just don't do that. That's easy. Don't do it.
My first fight ever, I was having success with the leg kick, and unlike unlike other fighters who completely avoid that, I just tunnel visioned entirely on that. And I was like, I'm scoring on this leg kick. I'm going to do it. And I went for one, and the guy just stepped in and laid my ass down with a straight punch. And I was
That's
just
exactly right.
oh shit, okay.
Yeah, man. It was like my first fight. We both, me and my opponent, no setup either. We just both got within range. And we both, I'm going to get this guy with a leg kick. We both hit a leg kick, and we could both, I don't know what it was going through his mind, but I was like, oh shit, he kicked me. I better hit him as I'm stepping back because I'm orthodox. I'm going to do a left hook. And he, at the same time, was like, oh shit, I better step back and do a left hook. And so we both kicked each other in the leg and then punched each other directly in the face. And we were both like, oh no. And then we did not do anything for the next 30 seconds. We were like, all right, that's enough of that. Yeah. But Peyton Talbot's in the UFC. He's not fighting an amateur fight on some regional dog scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's fighting for actual cash. So
Yeah.
Because it's funny for us, but we just have a podcast where our faces are not shown. Peyton Talbot is on TV, getting his ass laid out when he makes mistakes. So, yeah, right, like,
yeah. The door's not shut on him. The future's still bright. It's just you only have 10 fights. This is why. So, and you learn from it, and you come back better. That's all it is. So it's fine.
Also, Hani Barcelos, as tough as fucking tan bark and like steel wool. Like, good for that old man coming in there.
Yeah.
Legit credentials about why he's really good, right? Everyone had written him off after he lost to, it turns out, Merab, Umar, like generational talents. And like Peyton Talbot might be that in 3 to 4 years, but he's just not that right now. So it's all right. Yeah. As for Rin Nakamura, Colin, did you watch this fight?
No, I didn't.
All right. What do you know about Rin Nakamura? Give me the one sentence about how he should be fighting.
He should wrestle.
Yeah, he didn't, and that was upsetting. So I'm a little less high on him. It didn't feel like you came up against a competition you didn't know. I was like, hey, buddy, now's not the time to be trying out your.
Oh my god! Hold on, one more time.
Wait, you sound way better now too.
Do you want to know what happened?
What?
You gotta leave this in for the audience. It was feeding from my cell phone into Discord on my laptop. So that's why you were getting the rubbing sound, because anytime I like adjusted in my seat, it was in my pocket. My phone was in my pocket. It was just like gently brushing my thigh and the arm of the chair. Yeah, I was like, why I'm barely moving. Like I you just flex an ass cheek just to kind of move slightly. And you were like, oh, you're rubbing up against stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like basically stationary. This makes no sense. The laptop hasn't moved. My head position hasn't moved. Ugh, brutal. Well, we'll keep this in. You cut a little bit out. Who's to fucking say? Anyway, anything else to say about this card? Matchup wise, overall, we had said 8 or a 9 out of 10. How did it actually deliver for you?
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't the card that we promised. We were promised.
I know.
You know, and for like, it could have gone way worse. Like, Islam could have just been like, I'm not fighting, and that meant like we would only have had Merab and Umar. But at the same time, like I gave it a B+ coming into it, and I would still say it's about a B+ still.
Yeah, I'd say I dropped it from an A down to a B+. I'd say B, especially because we didn't talk about it. But dude, Kevin Holland coming out there shitting the bed.
Yeah,
I've officially written off Kevin Holland.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's that. You can't go out there and immediately fail against Rainier Derider like that. Cool. Well, that was 311. There's a lot more to talk about that happened during 311, which we'll get to next week. Like the 313 announcements.
Yeah.
Chris Weidman announcing his full retirement.
Yeah.
A new season of Tough.
Yeah.
Terrible Hall of Fame inductee. And we'll talk about Inoue after that as well. Also, we gotta talk. I gotta read you some of these highlights of Joe Rogan saying shit because it's the most preposterous nonsense. There was one moment where Jamal Hill whiffed on a jab and then like a weird uppercut, and he went, "Ooh, Jamal getting his timing," and I was like, he just missed both punches he threw. What are you talking about? He's getting his timing." I tell you, every time Joe Rogan comments, I'm like, this guy's brain exponentially is turning more and more into applesauce. It's the most absurd shit ever. It's terrible. They need to get rid of him. Anyway, all right. Well, this was a weird podcast, mostly because of my technical difficulties and just the nature of the conversation overall. But we made it through. You guys, we're going into February. We've got Inoue. We've got Israel Adesanya. We've got the rematch no one asked for with Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. We've got Tatiana Suarez. We've got some things to look forward to in February overall. But until then, this has been Two Fight Fans Podcast. I'm one Fight Fan Stuart.
I'm the other Colin.
And God, may we all have the cardio of Merab to make it through this life overall. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.